Hello. This is something like 1 month late. This is answering the questions that we received about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And one of the questions was from Stephen Eddy, and he said, which month are you going to answer the questions? He sent that in about 3 weeks later. Well, there's been lots of, not dramas, but certainly lots of challenges to get back on live again. We had to leave Les Sables d'Olonne. Our visas ran out before Tapio got there. He got there. We were busy sort of managing a bit of that by remote control. It was fantastic to see him, and we wish we were there, but we weren't. And then we went to China. We had to go to China for a couple of weeks to talk to some people about yacht racing and stuff, and also regroup, get organised, because we sort of live there sometimes. And then we came to Tonga, and everything here, the boat's been on the hard for quite some time. We're on the boat now, and so it took a lot of work to get the boat livable and so on. Anyway, we're sort of back on track now. And so we'll get into these questions. But before I do, a bit of an update. Susie and Mark just got in after their ASAB little adventure. Quite interesting. They came second in their class. He'll be happy with that. So was Susie. You know, they obviously were driving pretty hard. They were trying to get first, but that's yacht racing. And interesting, I thought the most amazing thing was that they had a bit of a blow at the end. 5-6 metre seas. They would have been short and steep. And not 35 knots of wind, which not quite what they're used to in the Southern Ocean, but I think that was probably the first storm that Susie went through since the Southern Ocean, so that I think that would have been good for her. She might have a different story, I don't know, we haven't spoken. And there's a lot going on, even with Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc's got a new boat for club racing. He's still really busy, and we'll get into it in a minute, but you'll notice one thing he's been saying is he'll never do another solo race around the world. He's too old. But note that he's saying solo race because we've just announced to launch the Ocean Globe race, which is a 50th anniversary edition of the Whitbread race, the original 1973 Whitbread race, which you'll probably see about. We're mentioning it here, there, and everywhere. So, and I know some of the some of the 18 entrants are thinking, it looks like a bit of fun. If I was sailing, and I've given up on sailing, I'm just going to be an organiser now. Nothing wrong with that. That's a whole adventure for us, and it's inspiring people and so on, and it is a lot of fun for us as well. I mean, as much as now we feel the 2018 edition is sort of over, we're still waiting for Igor to come back, but when Tapio finally got back to Finland, that was fun to watch, and it's sort of a bit of an ending without being a closure, because we want to get back into it and follow Igor on the way back as well. So we're looking forward now to 22, and there's a lot going on, and so the race for us was very emotionally draining. We went through a bit of that as well. Once we got back to China, it was like holy dooly, we sort of your new surrounding makes you reflect on a lot of things, and it took a bit of, we had to unwind for a couple of days as well. So anyway, that's all done, but it was fantastic for Jane and I. We had an absolute ball, and we're really looking forward to 22. So before I get into what's going on here, and 18 entrants, what's the other stories? We sent a newsletter out to everyone, a bit of a snippet update on everyone, but they're all doing different things. And 22 wise, it's amazing. First of all, I've got to say I'm Australian, and in Australia we've got 4 entrants, and that's Michael Davey, Mike Date, Mike Smith, and Matthew. So we got 3 Mikes. Anyway, they're all doing different things. Michael Davies bought a Cape Dory. He's just come off the confidential list, by the way, so his details are up on the GGR website, and 22 entrants. We've still got, I think, 4 confidential entries. Anyway, he's back up. He's bought a Cape Dory 36 in America, and he's shipping it back to Australasia to do the refit, and then he'll probably ship it back to the start. So he's right into it, getting very excited about what's going on, and he's a great guy, good fun. So watch this space. He's absolutely committed to winning the race. The Cape Dory is a hot boat too. I've always felt that for a long time, but there's a few different hot boats, so it's going to be great to see another pedigree boat in there that's not a Rustler 36. I think there's a few opportunities to shake up the Rustler 36 myth, and I say that with respect because they're great boats, but there's other boats that can do well if you could put a good skipper and a good planning and preparation, and you don't have to have a Rustler to be the winner like Jean-Luc. Mike Date's got his Aries 33, beautiful boats in a shed, completely gutted, rebuilding. He's well on the way to the rebuild now. He should be, or could be, back in the water after the major refit in a couple of months. he's pretty well working full time on that. So that's pretty cool. Mike Smith, he's actually still carrying on with his Suhaili replica. It'll be great to see another Suhaili in the race, and it attracted a lot of attention with Avalish in the 18 edition. So and he's building a really good one. So we'll keep our fingers crossed there. He's still got a lot of work to do. He's just finishing the hull and deck structure, and then he's got to put it together. But he's got time, and he plans, I think, still to ship it to. He's got some connections with South Africa, so I think he's still planning to ship it partially done to South Africa, finish it there, and then sail it up through the Atlantic to the start. And then Matthew, he's still looking for a boat. So that's the 4 Australians. I'll quickly give you a rundown. Arnaud, our French sailor, he's actually got his boat. It's a good boat. It's pretty well ready to go as it is now, but he's going to be tweaking and training as time goes by. Doug Dean, of course, he bought Uku's boat. Doug's American guy, the flyer, photographer. He's having a lot of fun with his boat. He's trying to work out a base. It's still in Europe, and he's looking at doing the Ostar to sail back. Few boats, we've all been talking about it. A few of them might do the Ostar. Ayrton just did the Azab race with Susie and Mark. So that's part of his training regime. He's done there and back, which is cool. And he's going to do the Ostar as well next year, so that'll be fun to watch. Gurav in Canada, he's still looking around at boats, so still a bit undecided. And now that the Ocean Globe race is up, he's saying, I want to do the Ocean Globe too, so who knows. Guidio in Italy, he should be, I haven't spoken to him for a while, but his refit should be just about finished. He's got some good plans. I mean, very focused again. He's got a Vancouver 34 hot boat. He's planning a few transatlantics, so that will start soon, I believe. Guy De Beer is undecided on boats. He's our American guy. Again, he's totally committed to a performance campaign, to winning, and he's still looking around at what he'll do. Guy Waits just got married. Guy Waits' background is with Clipper, of course. He was a mate on the last Circumnavigation, and this next edition, leaving in September, he'll be a skipper. He's a captain, looking after the crew, race 60 foot around, or big boat 67 feet, no, big boat 72 or something, around the world. So, and then as soon as he gets back, he's into his campaign. He'll have 2 years full time to get ready. Ian Herbert Jones, who bought Istvan's boat, he's got it back home again now, looking at modifying the bowsprit. He wants to put 2 outer head stays up, as well as the inner staysail, which gives you lots of options. Excuse me. That's something that a Russell 36 can't do, so he's going to modify there. John Clark in his Nicholson 32, still working on his engine. He's got a race coming up next weekend. I think it is a bit of a reasonable sort of race, so he's finally about to get out sailing and get some of the training done. Matthew Wright in Australia, he's the other Australian I was talking about. He hasn't got his boat yet, but he's looking around, and we chat every now and then about what's going on. And then who else we got here? Michael Guggenheim, he's got Endurance 37. He hasn't actually said 35. He hasn't. It's a beautiful one. He bought it for the last edition. It was so good he didn't want to modify it for the 2018 edition, and he wasn't quite ready, financially and family wise and so on. But now he's focused, and I think he'll be he'll be using that boat and get into programming. He's a sailing instructor and he uses it for different things. Pat Lawless, he's got the Saga 36, great boat, hot boat, doing some stuff, replacing rigs, getting ready to go, and I think he'll probably do the Ostar as well, so that'll be fun. Robin Davey, Robin, that other old bloke, he's got his Russell 36 looking good. He's sailing around. He's not sure when he's going to head back across the Atlantic, but he will eventually. Don't know whether it'll be this season, next season. Wouldn't it be funny if he did the Ostar? I think it'd be great, so who knows. And Simon Kerwin, he's got a Biscay 36, really nice boats. That was the same as Antoine's last time, but and Gregor, he's got a sloop rig. So the hulls are really good, and what's better, ketch or sloop? Originally, I got to say, prior to the start of 2018, I was thinking that a ketch rig was the way to go because you can balance the boat and so on. Having seen a few things now, I would think that I'd probably prefer a sloop rig. A little bit simpler, a little bit less hassle, easy to make a really workable cockpit arrangement, things like that. So I think Simon's onto something there. We've got a lot of things happening around the edges of the race at the moment. We've done a few things too. We've increased the amount of entries. You can take 23 entries in Suhaili class class now, so there's no wait list. We got 22, but I've got 3 or 4 on the edges about to put entries in. We've got his entry, setting his deposit, so there'll be another name up shortly. And some who said they've sent their entries in, but they haven't paid the deposit. They're, who knows what's going on. So we'll see. So we've still got that. We'll be back into a wait list pretty quick. So that's that one. Anyway, that's a bit of an overview. So these questions now. Mike Smith was asking what's the latest on Joshua update on the class. When I sell this boat, we can finish the other one. We can finish Joshua. And it's stopped building in Turkey. We're hoping to have it in the water early next year. And the process there, I've got 3 people that are waiting desperately to go sailing the boat. And then we'll see how it goes. And he also asked about the performance situation. What's the deal? The deal is there's no separate class, so a Joshua could be first across the line, or any of the Suhaili class. That's it. That's the line on a situation. The best one is to sort of look at what Jean-Luc and I discussed this a lot over a period of time. Jean-Luc's convinced that he could beat a Joshua, and the reason is that the Joshua is a bigger, heavier boat. It's certainly got longer waterline. It'll certainly be pretty powerful in the Southern Ocean. But Joshuas don't have spinnakers, right? They're not allowed to have any spinnakers. They've got to use the trim tab self-steering gear, right, which isn't as efficient as a servo pendulum or auxiliary rudder system. It's going to do a lot more of that, right? So it's going to lose a bit of performance there as well. And we've kept the rig to the proportions such that it's not over and above anything which would give it a huge advantage. So I think it'll be a close run thing. No one will really know until we do the first one. But certainly there's no question. Boat for boat in the Southern Ocean, you can't beat waterline length and displacement. But you can't compare Joshua in 1968 to Suhaili in 1968. Cheese and chalk, As you saw, if Jean-Luc hadn't have had a rig problem, he would have arrived sub 200 days. He would have arrived, be less than 200 days. I mean, it would have been phenomenal. And, if Joshua had have really gone around, it would have taken forever. So it's a case of watch this space. They're very similar boats, and we'll just have to see how it goes. So, okay, Mike Rippling, the GGR. Oh boy, I can't even read my own writing here again now. To follow the GGR, I'll have to have a look. I'll get Jane to have a look at that if we can. The second question. J.Y. Lopi was asking, when will entrant pictures and videos and so on be released? You really have to follow the entrants. Their Facebook pages and their website pages are up. Some are doing different things, and some will be released. They're making productions. Some have already happened. I think hopefully you all saw the documentary in French of Jean-Luc, which was about his life, but it included a lot of the stuff from the GGR. So you follow them and you'll see what happens. From GGR's perspective, Jesse and Tina are still cutting the doco right now in Australia for us, for GGR. And that'll be what we call a loose cut, not to final post-production. It's still huge money involved with doing all this, and Jesse's working hard and we're trying to find money and So we would suggest that the GGR doco may not be out until early next year. But what I can tell you, it's epic. Some of the stuff that we've captured, some of the stuff that the entrants have captured, and the story in general, the documentary, we're hoping will be a huge success. We'll just have to wait and see. So follow the entrants. Robert Reynolds wanted to know if Tapio was the first entrant to finish that didn't have a penalty, and the answer is yes. He's the first and only. Because Jean-Luc had a penalty, Mark Slats had a penalty, a couple of penalties, then Uku had a penalty, and Istvan had a penalty. So boom, Tapio, he's the winner on the penalty rates. So that's cool. And then Dan Saunders was asking, he's got one here, says Jean-Luc VDH, has he got any plans to do 2022? I can categorically say he won't be doing the GGR in 2022. Okay, that's the bottom line there. But he does say he won't do a solo circumnavigation again. Anyway, okay, Stephen Eddy. Which month do you answer questions? We actually answering the questions in July. That's pretty cool. So that's all right. Oh, this is recycling paper, by the way. This is stuff for Ocean Globe things, the diagrams for later on. Okay, Timothy Renz. I wanted to know, is there going to be any further updates on individual entrant boats? Okay, as in going over the technical side of their boats. Now we've done a lot of that on previous lives, which are now all on the GGR YouTube channel. There's a huge amount of videos there on the GGR YouTube channel. And so if you get stuck somewhere one day, or it's a rainy Sunday afternoon, you've got nothing to do, you could get on there and relive everything. It's phenomenal. Even because when it's happening, I shot a lot and other people shot a lot and so on. But now a few times I've gone back in there to look for stuff that I need to reference, and I'm gobsmacked at how much material there. It's fantastic. It's a great resource on the race. So if you've never been into the GGR YouTube channel stuff, get onto it, and it's incredible what's there. The other thing is that Tapio's pedestal steering thing, he did some of his own. You'll see on his website and his YouTube stuff, there's quite a few times when he's gone through and done a lot of videoing down below in the boat, and a lot of the entrants have done that, so you'll have to hunt it through for the others. For us, 18's gone, the entrants have sailed away, we don't have access to the boats anymore, we won't be producing any more material like that. So Paul Squire wanted to know, what are we going to do to make the event safer in 2022? Well, there's a lot of things we're doing. It's all in the notice of race. We're in fact, forget about the safety angle, there's things we're doing. You can now, entrants will be able to have a HF weatherfax, so they can access their own detailed weather on board the boat, so no one will ever be able to say they're getting bad weather. They'll have all the latest stuff onto their boat via the HF weatherfax that prints out on a thermal paper roll. There's extra media stuff. There'll be 2 occasions a week when they can talk direct to external media, like have an interview with a newspaper or TV or something like that. There's lots of different things. It's all in the notice of race, which is up online. So have a look at that. You'll see a lot of the amendments there now. There's a heap of different things going on there. Too many to list here, but we will do a separate post later on detailing when we sort of relaunch 2022. At the moment we're hanging on from 18. It doesn't get official really until September. In September, even though Igor is still going to be coming after that, in September the site officially moves over to 22. So that's 3 years before the start, and that's when it goes. So we're winding down 18, and so Igor will be a follow-on while we're focused on 22. And when we do that, we will be giving a lot of information about what's different between 18 and 22. So that'll give them. Now here comes the bombshell from this guy. Bombshell says, and what are we going to do to undo the damage that we've done to ocean racing around the world? Well, I completely disagree with you on that issue. We haven't done any damage to ocean racing around the world at all. In fact, we've done a lot to promote safe, sensible, responsible sailing. A lot of sailors around the world have followed the GGR. They've learned a lot. There's a lot of in-depth experience there now, and all the entrants are talking about it. They've been able to sort of express their own opinions on different things. And as far as media goes, in terms of the race itself, a huge success. We'll be talking about the exposure of the race and what I call real, simple, ordinary ocean sailing in a wholesome way in the future. We will, towards the end of July, all of those figures will be released publicly. And so I disagree. We haven't, in my opinion, damaged yacht racing at all. And maybe you're not an ocean yacht racer. I'm not sure. Maybe you are. But I disagree with your statement. So anyway, but that's progress, and everyone's entitled to an opinion. So that's cool. Okay. Then Mark Warren wanted to know, would a Nicholson 35 be added to 22 list of approved boats? Well, we don't have a list of approved boats anymore. Okay, that's the bottom line, because that was being used in strange ways out there in the real world. What happens is, if you wanted to enter the GGR in a Nicholson 35, you would approach us after you've looked at all the things. And in fact, if you look at the website and notice a race, you'll know straight away whether a Nic 35 will rate or not. Just read the conditions. And then you approach GGR and say, hey, look, I want to enter the race and this is the boat I'm going to use. We give you a bit of an opinion, and it's not until someone then actually officially puts in their entry form with the approved boat and so on that people can see what boats are being used, and then those boats are approved. There's no use approving boats if they're not in the race, because then people say, oh, look at that, I've got a Nic 35 and it's approved for GGR, and then the price goes up, and so we don't approve them anymore in a public record sense. When you see a boat that's entered in the race, you'll know it's ready to go. So that's really about it. Second.
We post all the entrance progress.
Oh, okay. Yeah, wanted to know if we would repost all of the 2022 entrant posts on the GGR Facebook page, and the answer is no, because sometimes the GGR entrance posts are talking about the meal they had at the restaurant the other night. What we will do is we will repost all of the interesting posts from GGR 22 entrants, the same as we've done in the past with 2018. We don't put them all up, but we'll put up stuff that's interesting. And it's early days yet, the entrants are just getting settled. You've got an overview of what everyone's doing. The stories start to get better as we get closer, so as this year starts to progress, you'll get a feel for what's going on. Certainly, if you're watching GGR, go and find all the individual entrants. There's links to their Facebook pages and their websites if they've got them up at the moment. On the skippers section in the website, you can like their Facebook pages, and you'll get everything into your own social media, which is kind of a cool way of supporting them as well. So 2022 is going to be huge. There's no question about that, and we'll look forward to keeping you updated. So thanks again. Sorry this was a month overdue. I'll put another question mark up probably in a week or so, because you might have some more questions, and we'll get back to them as soon as we can, but not a big delay like this one. But keep an eye on Ocean Globe Race as well, because I think that's going to be huge. It's 50th anniversary recreation of the first whitbread race for ordinary people. So some of the GGR family around the world who are not necessarily into solo sailing but into sailing, you might want to get together with your mates and put in an entry. So keep an eye out on it. Thanks a lot. See you later.